Hey, guess what? The war machine is in full blast, baby, and the establishment media is going right along with it. Guess what? We're sending troops to Somalia for the first time in 24 years. Why are we in Somalia? That's interesting, right? Why are we in... Why? So here, first of all, the new deployment, which U.S. African Command, AFRICOM, is presented as a simple training operation, will be the first time U.S. ground troops are officially deployed to Somalia, though, of course, the U.S. has some special forces present on the ground on and off, conducting occasional operations and spotting for U.S. airstrikes. What the fuck? Oh, we're just in there doing some training and, we're doing some strikes. We're doing some bombings in another country. It's not a big deal. That's just, do you see how they just talk about, not a big deal. We're bombing some other country. What? AFRICOM also insists the new deployment was at request of the Somali government. They actually asked us to go there and start bombing shit.
Huh.
Though indications in recent weeks have indicated that military officials have been pushing for an escalation of U.S. intervention in the country, at any rate, aimed at fighting al-Shabaab. When commanders want to push for fighting in Somalia, al-Shabaab is presented as either ISIS or al-Qaeda affiliated. And that's important. Why? Because the reason why the United States military can go into places like Somalia and bomb it without us declaring war, or us having a debate about it in Congress, the reason why they can do that is because what they're using is the same authorization we gave George Bush to go fight Al-Qaeda after 9/11. So it said they could go fight terrorism. Well, as we all know, That's Orwell. That's straight from, that's endless war for endless peace, because terrorism isn't a country. It's not a state. You can't defeat terrorism. So that means we'll always be at war, and now the United States military can go anywhere it wants. All they have to do is say we're fighting terror, and that's what that is. Oh, the Al-Shabaab, they're with ISIS or Al-Qaeda, whatever, so we're going to use that same thing.
They asked us to bomb, and they knew the magic word, so we're going. Magic word's oil, I think.
Yes. Though in practice, the group is largely an independent Islamist operation with a similar ideology. Yes. You mean it's not ISIS or Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab? You mean we just decide we want to bomb us? So the United States just bombs everywhere we want at any given time, no matter what. And we use we could sell cluster bombs to Saudi Arabia. They drop them in Yemen. We also do raids in Yemen, kill people, innocent people. But remember, we're the good guys, and terrorists are bad. Terrorists are bad. Even though we're bombing in nobody even knows why we're bombing in Somalia. I'll tell you why in a second. I'll tell you why we're bombing in Somalia. Though group's operations are confined almost exclusively to Somalia, though they have launched some strikes into neighboring countries as retaliation for those countries, particularly Kenya, being involved in interventions against them. A lot has changed in Somalia in the 24 years between direct U.S. interventions, with the country undergoing a long period of comparatively stable anarchy, followed by protracted war designed to prop up self-proclaimed government. It was this war and African Union interventions to try to claim territory for this government that largely fueled the creation of al-Shabaab. What did you find out about
Okay, so
Somalia?
according to 2015, oil giant BP is very interested, and they said an intelligence brief released indicated that Somalia's coastal waters in the Indian Ocean could have some of the world's largest oil deposits.
Oh, so they just figured out that there's oil, the largest oil deposits maybe in the world are off the coast of Somalia in the Indian Ocean. Is that what you just said? No, that's not why we're in Somalia. We're there to help people. We're just doing some training exercises anyway, and then we bomb some people sometimes. We're in the poorest countries in the world, bombing the shit out of the poorest people in the frickin' world at the behest of oil companies, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. That's what we're doing.
It continues.
That's why we're in Somalia. because they have the biggest oil reserves maybe the world has ever seen. They just found out. They just found it in the Indian Ocean, right, Steph?
Yes. And it continues. Intelligence collected by Strategic Intelligence shows Somalia's Puntland province has 10 billion barrels of oil reserves, making it one of the top 20 countries holding oil.
Brownie is outraged.
So that's why we're in Somalia. And by the way, Trump wasn't the first. Barack Obama was the one to expand the war on terror into Somalia. It's a very bipartisan. The whole wars are bipartisan. Right? There's no anti-war party in America. In fact, when people stood up at the Democratic National Convention to protest the nonstop warmongering by the Democratic Party, instead of them going, oh, we hear you, we have a peace movement inside the Democratic Party. Of course we do. We're lefties. What they did was they went, shut those people up as fast as you can. Shut them up. Turn the lights out on them. Those people screaming for peace. Turn the lights out on them and put sound cannons on them too. And wag your finger at them and tell them they're being ridiculous.
Well, Jimmy, at least we're consistent. This is the United States. And when we say bipartisan, we mean literally a disaster. That's
Yes.
how war happens.
That's how war happens.
And you know, Jimmy, when you say that we don't have a party that's against war, which is so true, we don't. But you know what? We have a country packed with people who want peace.
That's right. That's exactly right. So the Democratic Party is worse off than people think it is. So that's one thing. I don't want to mix too many things, but the Democratic Party is worse off because they are pro-war. And maybe they always have been. Lyndon Johnson certainly was pro-war, right? Bill Clinton certainly was. Barack Obama certainly was. Here we are. Hillary Clinton certainly was. She voted for the Iraq War. She did Libya. She wanted a more muscular response in Syria. Holy shitballs. And now it seems like Trump has just told the military, do whatever you want. It seems that way, doesn't it? Seem that way? That's why they're dropping Moab, and it just seems like they're doing whatever they feel like it. Now we're bombing in Somalia.
Do what you want, just win bigly. That
Just
was
win
probably
bigly.
his official document.
And by the way, we're in Somalia because we want to help the people of Somalia. Let's be honest. That's why we're there. The news will tell you that's why we're there. I'm sure everybody at Wolf Blitzer and Rachel Maddow are going to tell you why we're in Somalia, right? Rachel Maddow's going to. Chris Hayes will tell you why we're in Somalia. It's because they have the biggest oil reserve ever, right? Isn't that what they're going to tell you? Or they're going to tell you we're fighting terrorism under the biggest bullshit terror program ever, which is our anti-terrorism program, is the biggest terror program the world has ever seen. Yeah. And we're killing civilians like stepping on ants, like it's nothing. So whenever you see the establishment media or the government in the United States talk about how they care about innocent people being killed, and so again, they're not going to tell you the mainstream news, New York Times. They're not going to tell you what's really going on in Somalia. That they found the biggest oil reserve, and that's why we're in there. That's what's going on. So if wherever we're fighting in the Middle East, it's always about oil or fossil fuels, and it's at the behest of Saudi Arabia because of the petrodollar. You're not going to hear. Do you ever hear the petrodollar even mentioned on the news? Do they even bring it up? That's the whole point of all this stuff. But I'm sure MSNBC is going to snap out of it and come back, and they're going to be, peace is patriotic. I say peace is patriotic. And I'm sure Howard Dean and MSNBC, I'm sure they'll get their head out of their ass, and I'm sure they'll remember that, oh yeah, we're supposed to be for peace. And we got to stop dropping bombs, and bombs aren't going to fix anything. I'm sure they're going to wake up, right, Ron?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just a matter of time. They're different now. They've changed this time.
Were you surprised to find out what Steph said about the oil, Somalia?
I did. I was not aware. Surprised, not so much, but I was unaware of that.
How about you, Steph?
No, I mean, I'm overwhelmed by the tragedy of it. Ultimately, we have to go there.
Why? I just love I just love there's absolutely no explanation ever. Oh, we're fighting Al Qaeda. They're not in there. There's some people called Al Shabaab that's in there.
Or we could
that sounds scary.
We could be spreading democracy because we're really good at that here.
Yes,
We've mastered it.
we can't
so
even
we can
have
spread it now.
Yeah, that's right. We have a banana republic election 40% of the time in the United States. 40% of the elections in the 21st century have gone to the loser in the United States. Do you realize that? George Bush lost. He got to be president for 8 years. Donnie Tonahan's lost. He's president. I don't really think we should be trying to spread that brand of democracy around the world, especially at the point of a gun, which is how we do it. So that's why we're in Somalia. I would say watch MSNBC. I'm sure they're going to tell you that's why we're in Somalia. I'm sure they'll tell you. I'm sure they'll tell you it's horrible what we're doing. I'm sure they're going to tell you that we should stop all this bombing and reinvest that money at home. I'm sure that's what they're saying at MSNBC. Oh, except they're not. Except they're trying to get the United States to start World War III. Now, if you can tell me something that's more journalistically corrupt than that, I don't know what is. I saw him lie about Bernie Sanders on MSNBC. We all saw that. We all saw him say they were throwing chairs and that they're sexist. We all saw all that stuff. But to see them beat the drum for war, like they, especially when we know it's garbage. Wow. If you read the newspapers, if you don't read the newspapers, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspapers, you're misinformed. And by the way, YouTube does not want to hook us up with advertisers to tell these stories. That's not happening. So hopefully somebody saw an ad on this video. I'm going to guess you didn't. And even the videos that YouTube is not demonetizing, even those videos, they're running way less commercials on them. So it's not sustainable through their commercials, a show like this. It used to be. Now we're making almost nothing. So I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about this stuff. Are we allowed to talk about this? I haven't read my user agreement or whatever.
Yeah, who knows? Because, I mean, they don't give much explanation when something is demonetized.
Right, none to me anyway. So thank you so much for supporting this show. It seems like the BS machine is not taking a break. And so we're into another country now. We're bombing in another country for, I'm sure, humanitarian. They didn't even tell you. Oh, the government asked us to come in and start bombing. Oh, boy. And you wonder why people get their news from YouTube.